Lots of things are about to change at Manchester United, and some things have already changed, and you may not have even realised that. In today's video, we're going to break down 5 key areas that Jim Ratcliffe is going to change at Manchester United. Starting with number 1, the recruitment strategy. Now, if you're aware of Manchester United and recruitment, you know that we have a very bad reputation. 85 million on Anthony. We spent 150 million one summer on Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire and Dan James. 60 million on Mason Mount with 1 year left on his contract. While I think Mason Mount is a good player, it wasn't worth the money. And that is just the cusp of it. 50 million on Fred, the Donny van der Beek transfer, the fact that Kim and Jay, Harry Kane, a lot of Ten Hag's primary targets weren't got. We wanted Frankie de Jong and got a completely different profile like Casemiro. And while he was vital to Manchester United's success last season, 60+ million and all those wages on a guy that was past his best. The recruitment at United has definitely not been the best, but that is all set to change. First of all, we've spoken about this before on the channel. Omar Berrada wants the 2 years to perform and you're out. So not only will the recruitment strategy change, but those players that do not perform in 2 years, even if they're new, are out. Calvin Phillips has been shipped out of Manchester City. Manchester City even shipped out Cancelo because he dropped off and had issues with the manager. If you don't perform, you don't do this, you're out. Now, what is Man United's new recruitment strategy likely to involve? Signing players aged 20 to 25. Jim Ratcliffe was very critical on his visit to Old Trafford to John Murta about the signing of Casemiro. And while I like Casemiro, Jim Ratcliffe was critical about why we're spending so much money on a player on such high wages. That's a completely different profile to the player Ten Hag originally wanted. Ten Hag had this vision and this way he wanted to play that he did in pre-season, and because he didn't get Frankie de Jong, he had to change that, which maybe was a blessing in disguise at the time. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe was very critical over the signing of Casemiro, these high-wage players, and while I think Berrada should definitely keep, he may go for free because of his high wages, and Jim Ratcliffe wants a new, fresh squad of hungry players. There's going to be a focus on homegrown players. Jared Branthwaite and Elise is technically homegrown, although his nationality right now is France. Branthwaite and Elise, they look to be players that INEOS are big fans of. And then, of course, John Todibo of Nice. Didn't go to Spurs. Is Ratcliffe keeping him for United again? He is 24. Falls in that category of good players having good seasons, good players who are not just good athletically but good technically, and then they can come to United and turn into superstars. Ratcliffe wants this new strategy of the players that he signs for Manchester United have superstar potential. No longer buying the old high-wage players, no longer letting the manager have a say to spend 85 million on Anthony. Ten Hag will have a say, but he won't have the control. We're going to have Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, Omar Berrada, and a new recruitment officer, potentially Julian Ward or Dougie Freedman, are the 4 people making decisions with the input of Ten Hag or whoever the next manager is when it comes to recruitment. The second thing that's going to change, and I won't get too detailed into this because there's so much detail about it, is the new facilities and stadium. Ratcliffe said this in his interview on building a new Old Trafford. In an ideal world, I think it's a no-brainer. In an ideal world, you want a stadium in the north, a stadium of the north, which can be a world-class stadium where England could play, and you could have FA Cup finals, and it's not all centred around the south of England. So in an ideal world, that's what it would be, but you've got to be practical about life. It was then said that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to create Manchester United's Wembley of the North Stadium under ambitious plans to rival Wembley. They've already got planning permission. There's already things being drafted up. They're already working on this. Now, we don't know if they're just going to renovate Old Trafford or build a new stadium, but stuff is in the works to renovate the area and get planning permission around Old Trafford. It was also said that upgrades to Carrington are expected, and there's going to be upgrades and improvements in every department. I mean, a medical department, the facilities, every single department from academy to obviously the training ground, every single department of Manchester United is massively going to improve. The third thing that they're going to change, and this is massively going to link to the manager situation, is the vision and style of play. When changing with an organisation, the first step is to create urgency, create a mission, create momentum, and bring people in along who align with the vision whilst removing the barriers to change. This is what, Brailsford does. He's coming into United. He's going to make changes massively. He's going to have a vision. He's going to have a way that he wants Manchester United to be, a way that we operate. There's going to actually be leadership and communication at the top, communicating with everyone below them, so we won't be this complete big mess of who does this and who does that and who does that. Wilcox, Omar Berrada, Dan Ashworth, Brailsford, Blanc, of course, Ratcliffe. The Glazers basically just ignore Murtagh and Arnold, and as bad as Murtagh and Arnold were at their jobs and why they shouldn't be in those roles, they were ignored by those at the top. They didn't know what the plan was, the vision was, the identity. Those at the top, rails with a blunt, will be laying it out to Berrada, to Ashworth, to everyone to work in unison, and they'll have this vision and style of play, this identity that they want Manchester United to be. And they'll see if the manager suits the direction they want to go, how they want to play. They're going to buy players to play that way. They're going to have an ideal environment. They're going to make sure they have players that suit the environment, staff that suit the environment, the ambition of the club. There's going to be a vision. There was a report doing an insider on Manchester United about how John Murtagh and Richard Arnold don't really know what the plan is. They just want to get Man United back to the top, but they don't have this vision or this identity. And John Murtagh and Richard Arnold don't know who makes the final decision and if we're going to do this or that. There's going to be defined. Everyone's going to have a clear path and identity of what we're trying to achieve together. And it was said, a well-placed source has said that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not completely sold on Ten Hag, and figures at Manchester United have said there's noise around the manager position and they can still enjoy a successful season if the club win the FA Cup and finish the top four. It was also said in more detail that if we win the FA Cup and top four, that will not change INEOS' stance on Ten Hag. INEOS' stance on Ten Hag will not be based off results. It will be based off if they believe that Ten Hag can accomplish what they want to accomplish at Manchester United. Can he coach the players to play this way? We're going to get certain players in. We're going to have a way we want to play. Can Ten Hag achieve that? And I don't know if Ten Hag's going to be here or not. That is safe for point number 5, the latest on Ten Hag. Because point number 4 is that let's expect a big clear out. 11 players set to be maybe going. And among those players, here are those that are not safe, and 11 of these could leave, 10 of these could leave, 9 of these could leave, 12 of these could leave. But these are the players at risk: Martial, Evans, Amrabat, Eriksson, Anthony, Sancho, Donny, Casemiro, Varane, Maguire, Lindelof, McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, Williams, Mesbury, Greenwood, Alvaro Fernandez. Williams, Mesbury, Greenwood, McTominay all seen as pure FFP profit. Wan-Bissaka's not particularly highly rated. Even Malacia or Shaw could be at risk if we choose to bring in a left back, but they're not determined risk. Lindelof and Maguire will eventually be moved out. Casemiro and Varane because of their wages. Donny's seen as finished. Sancho's seen as finished. INEOS do not rate Anthony. Eriksson's seen as finished. Amrabat will walk. Evans will walk. Martial will walk. And next season, if Onana doesn't perform, if Mount doesn't perform, if Rashford doesn't perform, they could be out, because INEOS have this 2 years and you've got to perform. If you have 2 bad seasons, that's when INEOS start to draw the line. Continuing to the 5th and final thing, and for me, probably arguably the most important thing that INEOS can change, because I don't know if you watched Sir Jim Ratcliffe's recent interview, but he was asked about Ten Hag and is Ten Hag safe, and he said, well, let me say this. It's not about the manager at United, it's about the environment. There's several managers that have gone to United and failed, but are very successful managers. So when you look at it and how many have failed at Manchester United, it has to be something to do with the environment of United. I'm here to change that environment. I'm here to create an environment of support for the manager. Jim Ratcliffe's made it clear his intention is to change the environment, to change the structure of Manchester United before he even, considers sacking the manager. Now, I don't know if Ten Hag will go or not. I know that they are looking at new managers. It's looking 55 Ten Hag leaves, 45 he stays, but I also know there's so much groundwork to do and so much more that needs to be changed before the manager, the staff, the board, the players, that Ten Hag may get a leniency another year because of what he achieved last season, because of what he achieved at Ajax. Ten Hag could be given another year to prove himself, because under a good and competent board at Ajax, Ten Hag was an incredibly good manager. But in terms of cultural reset, we're seeing a new board environment around the club. Omar Berrada is the first in. Ashworth, Wilcox and more could come in. Dan Ashworth also, what he did at Newcastle was completely reform and change the academy. The Man United academy is great, but it's expected that loads of new scouts and recruitment could come in. Changes to the sports science department, hundreds of jobs at risk, hundreds of new people being looked at. There could be a potential change of manager as well. Sporting Lisbon manager is highly rated, of course. De Zerbi is Omar is a big fan of him, seeing him as a Pep Guardiola replacement when he was at City. Dan Ashworth and Graham Potter have an absolutely brilliant relationship, and other managers like Inzaghi have been linked to United. It's unlikely. Sedan's been linked to United, which is reportedly unlikely. But the sporting manager, Nagelsmann, De Zerbi, Graham Potter, their names to keep an eye on. Some reports are saying that United are having talks and discussing managers. Some reports are saying that INEOS have already made their decision and they're looking at managers. Some reports are saying that actually this is just agent talk. Man United haven't discussed new managers yet. They're going to decide that at the end of the season. No one really knows, but there's a cultural reset. Will the manager suit the way we want to play in the culture? There'll be more focus into the academy. The goal of creating an ethos into academy will go into the first team, but they want to change the dressing room ethos, the culture at United. No longer a team of spoiled high wage players. There's going to be, you know, caps on the wage bill. There's going to be performance incentives on the wage. You can't earn over a certain amount unless you're performing well. There's going to be, hopefully they want to get every player under 180 grand a week unless they massively deserve it and they are an exception. The wage bill is going down. There's going to be performance incentives on the wage bill, so they have to perform to get all their wages. There's going to be a new culture in the dressing room. No leaks, no this, no that. If that changes, you are out. That's the way INEOS want to be. They want to crack down on the culture. So today's video was 5 things that Jim Ratcliffe will change at Manchester United. I think it's an exciting time. Things are changing, and hopefully things change for the good. It's going to be difficult. You know, Man City is still at their best. Liverpool, though they're leaving, Klopp is in a very good position. Arsenal in a very good position. That the Premier League is incredibly hard, and we have to crack down now, sooner rather than later. It's going to take time. Just because we might not succeed next season or the season after does not mean that this project is bad. You've got to give INEOS, Dan Ashworth, Omar, Berrada 3 years to do their work, and we'll see the long-term effects of it. It's a long-term plan, but it's exciting. Thank you for watching. Bye.